Angela Green vanished in the summer of 2019. No police report, no search, no funeral. Her husband told the family she died of a stroke, but there was no death certificate, no hospital records, no grave. What really happened? Welcome back to the Criminal Minds. It was June 2019 in Prairie Village, Kansas. The lawns were green, the streets were quiet, and life moved at a slow, familiar pace. It was a neighborhood where people waved from their porches and trusted each other's routines. Nothing ever really happened there. Angela Green was 51 years old. She lived in a modest two-story home with her husband, Jeff Green, and their only daughter, Ellie. She didn't work outside the home. She was private, traditional, a little anxious by nature. But those who knew her said she was sweet and proper and always tried her best to be a good wife and a good mom. Angela was originally from China and had moved to the U.S. for love, and a future she hoped would be stable and safe. By all appearances, she got what she wanted. But that summer, everything unraveled. Ellie Green had just come back from college for the summer. She and her mom were close. Angela was overprotective. Yes, but she meant well. She worried constantly about grades, about boys, about her daughter going too far from home. But Ellie understood her mother. She loved her for it. That June, the two of them spent time shopping, cooking together, and talking about Ellie's next semester. Angela told her she was proud. They hugged often, laughed in the kitchen. Everything felt normal, but behind that calm surface, something was off. One evening, Angela and Jeff, her husband, got into an argument. It wasn't loud, not violent, but it was intense enough that Ellie decided to leave the house for a few days and stay with relatives. She thought she was giving them space, letting the storm pass. It was the kind of thing you do when you've seen your parents argue before. You step out and trust they'll figure out. But when Ellie returned home days later, her world changed. Her father, Jeff, sat her down, calm, collected, and then he said something that froze her blood. Your mother's gone. She died of a stroke while you were away. Ellie was stunned. Just days ago, she'd been making lunch with her mom, laughing, talking about school. Now she was dead? Where is she? Ellie asked, where's the hospital? The funeral? When did it happen? Jeff gave short answers. He told her Angela had been cremated immediately, that there had been no funeral, because that's what Angela would have wanted. He claimed it all happened too fast to call anyone. No obituary, no memorial, no paperwork, just gone. At first, Ellie believed him, because why wouldn't she? This was her dad, the man she'd trusted her whole life. But as the days passed, the grief started to change into confusion, then suspicion. Angela didn't have a history of health issues. There had been no warning. And Jeff wouldn't let her see any documents. Not a death certificate, not a hospital record, nothing. He refused to give her the name of the crematorium. He said it was too painful to talk about. But pain wasn't the only thing in his eyes. It was fear, and maybe even guilt. Ellie Green couldn't sleep. She lay in bed, going over her father's words again and again. She died of a stroke. We had her cremated right away. She didn't want a funeral. Something didn't sit right. Angela was only 51. She didn't have serious health issues. She didn't take medication. She wasn't overweight. There had been no signs. And yet, her father claimed she had dropped dead while Ellie was gone for just a few days. But what gnawed at her most wasn't the suddenness. It was the secrecy. Ellie asked to see a death certificate. Jeff brushed it off. She asked where the cremation took place. He told her he forgot the name. She asked where the ashes were. I threw them away, he said. It's what your mom would have wanted. What kind of husband throws away his wife's ashes? What kind of father refuses to let his daughter say goodbye? Ellie tried to trust him, but the lies were starting to crack. So she did something brave. She started investigating her own mother's death. Ellie reached out to extended family, Angela's relatives, friends, and cousins. None of them had been told she died. What do you mean she passed away? One cousin asked. I just got a text from her 2 months ago. That was the moment Ellie realized. Her mother might not be dead. She might just be missing. Over the next few months, Jeff became more distant. He didn't want to talk about Angela. He didn't want to answer questions. He avoided calls, avoided family, avoided everything. Until one day, when Ellie pressed again, he changed his story. Angela didn't die, he finally said. She had a mental breakdown. She was taken to a psychiatric hospital. It came out of nowhere. No warning. No explanation. Just a completely new narrative. Ellie was stunned. What hospital? Who took her? Why did you lie about her being dead? Jeff wouldn't answer. I thought it would be easier for you, he said. Easier? He told his daughter her mother had died because it would be easier? In February 2020, over 8 months after Angela disappeared, Ellie went to the police. She filed a missing persons report. She told them everything. The stroke lie, the mental hospital lie, the total lack of documentation, the shifting stories, the feeling that something was very, very wrong. When detectives tried to verify Angela's death, they found nothing. No death certificate in Kansas, no cremation record, no ER admission, no funeral home activity, no psychiatric hospitalization. To the government, Angela Green never died. She just disappeared. Once Ellie Green filed a missing persons report, the silence surrounding Angela's death shattered. Now, the police were involved. Now, the lies had to face scrutiny. And the first thing they confirmed, Angela Green had vanished without a trace. No paper trail, no witnesses, no verified account of what happened. Only one person claimed to know the truth, Jeff Green, and he was changing his story again. When detectives sat down with Jeff, they asked him directly, "What happened to your wife?" He paused, took a breath, and gave them a third version. Angela had a breakdown, he said. So I had her taken to a psychiatric facility, but I don't remember which one. The investigators asked for details. Who took her? What time? Which hospital? What car did you use? He claimed he drove her himself, but then said he dropped her off and never followed up. He said he didn't know if she was still there or she had checked herself out. This time, police didn't buy it. Police started to believe what Ellie feared most. Angela Green didn't disappear on her own. She was made to disappear. Detectives got a search warrant for the Green family home in Prairie Village. Angela's home. The last place anyone had seen her alive. They searched every room, took electronics, notebooks, and financial records. They opened the safe, searched the garage, checked the backyard. Cadaver dogs were brought in. One of them alerted to a specific area in the backyard. But when investigators dug, they found nothing. Nobody. No bones. No physical remains. Just a haunting suggestion. Something had once been there and had been removed. Angela's relatives were devastated. They had believed the stroke story for months, mourning her in silence, thinking cremation was cultural, respectful, and private. But when Ellie told them the truth, they were furious. One cousin told a local reporter, "We trusted him. We thought she was gone, but now we think he's hiding something dark." They urged police to keep going. They wanted justice. But without a body, without a confession, there was only suspicion. He stopped cooperating. He hired a criminal defense attorney. He refused all interviews. He refused to take a polygraph. He stopped talking to Ellie. Stopped talking to Angela's family. Cut off everyone. He continued living in the house where Angela had supposedly died, or left, depending on which version he was telling that day. But he never helped search for her, never joined the public appeals, never asked the police what they'd found. In the eyes of many, that silence said everything. Ellie kept going. She contacted reporters. She refused to let the case go cold. Her voice was soft, but her message was sharp. I don't want my mother to be just a file. I want answers. I want justice. And I want to know where she is. In an interview, Ellie said something that made viewers everywhere stop and think. She said she remembered small, strange things. Her mom always seemed nervous when Jeff was around. How she wasn't allowed to have her phone. She wasn't allowed to go out without asking. how Jeff made all the decisions. Now, those memories felt heavier, darker, like the sign she had missed. Police believe the fight between Angela and Jeff that week was not ordinary. They think something happened during that argument, something that escalated fast. Maybe violence, maybe a push, a fall, maybe premeditated, maybe not. But whatever it was, Angela never walked out of that house again. As of today, Jeff Green has not been charged with Angela's murder. There is no body, and without it, prosecutors say they don't yet have the evidence to convict. But the public, they've made up their minds. And Ellie, she's never stopped searching. Before she became a headline, before her name was wrapped in suspicion and secrets, Angela Green was a daughter, a wife, a mother, and someone who simply wanted peace. But her story, when told in full, reveals a life that was far more complex than anyone realized. And that complexity may have played a role in why she vanished so easily and why no one questioned it for so long. Angela Chung was born in China. Bright, curious, soft-spoken. She came to the United States with dreams of a quiet life, a good husband, a family, stability. She met Jeff Green in the U.S., and they married not long after. By all accounts, Angela wanted to build something solid. She loved cooking, loved classical music, loved her daughter more than anything. She didn't chase luxury or attention. She just wanted a simple, safe life. But inside her home, Angela lived a life of invisible struggle. Her family says she suffered from anxiety, especially around confrontation. She was emotional, easily overwhelmed. She sometimes shut down instead of speaking up. But instead of compassion, it seems she received control. Jeff was described as cold, calculated. He made decisions. Angela followed. He managed the household. Angela obeyed. Friends who had known Angela in the early years said she slowly disappeared from view. She stopped answering phone calls, stopped showing up to family events, stopped going anywhere without Jeff. What's chilling is how long it went unnoticed. Angela wasn't beaten. She wasn't bruised. She was just absent, and Jeff made sure her absence looked normal. He gave just enough excuses. She's not feeling well. She's tired. She's busy. She's overwhelmed. Angela's voice got quieter over time, until it was gone completely. And when she finally vanished in June 2019, Jeff didn't panic, didn't report it, didn't even act like it was a crisis. Because for him, it wasn't. Despite the pain, Ellie Green continues to be the voice her mother no longer has. She speaks at missing persons events. She tells her story to the media. She honors her mom not with anger, but with quiet, steady truth. She deserved better, Ellie says, and until I find her, I won't stop. She was a mother, a wife, a woman with fears, yes, but also hopes. And in a single week, she was erased. If this case hits you, if you believe Angela deserves justice, tell us what you think happened. Drop your theories in the comments. Hit that subscribe button. And help us keep Angela Green's name alive until we finally bring her home.